Blessings, beautiful souls. Thank you for joining me today. And for some of you that this is a day where it is the ending, right? It's an ending, and then we have 3 days till we are, you could say, reborn or awakened into a different state of consciousness. So, whether you follow the story of the Bible or the story of the stars or the story of your DNA or your own life, it doesn't matter. It's all just a story. But what we can do is use these frequencies to move beyond the story altogether. And I feel that right now that is the ending. So, whether it's your personal story, it's the story of the collective, the story of how the planet, the stars, the energies of the planets are affecting us. How many different ways do we identify in the story? And then how many times do we take events and create stories around them? And that's really what was shown to me, is that it's just time to take it out of the mind. And I'm going to go as far as to say it's even time to take it out of the brain. I was actually in an interview this morning, and this just popped out of my mouth, and it's one of those things where I'm just like shocked myself. I'm like, "Oh, that's so good." And but what I said was, the question was, "What's next in human evolution?" And I said, "We're going to move from the heart brain coherence into the DNA coherence, meaning that we're going to start attuning our consciousness, not in the brain and not in the heart, but in the DNA, because the DNA is our original operating system. And that is where I would like all of us to start to move. We're going to do some processes as we continue to experience what it is to shift on a cellular level. But it's important to know that each and every one of us is already in the frequency of 963. We're already the frequency of source in the body, not just consciously, not just energetically. I shouldn't say consciously because none of us are there consciously. But the point is that what our experience of the body is where we're holding consciousness. And it's what frequency we're holding consciousness in. Our body is already multidimensional. And the reason that we have the experience of the programmed body is because that's what we have agreed to consciously. And if you know my work, that our cells are an observation of our environment, which is our belief systems. It's what we eat. We can even go as far as if there's EMF or if there's whatever, all of the different things that we fear. Oh, there's toxins in my food, and there's this, and there's that. All of that creates an environment. And so our cells read the environment and they're responding to it. Maybe even a better word would be reacting to it. And over time, epigenetic codes get turned on. And then we start to age, degenerate, get diseases, all these different things. And that's just not the way we are meant to function. We are not supposed to function in observation of an illusion or a program. And the base of suffering is a program. It's a program of survival. I want you to think about something in your life right now that you're struggling with, and really, really sit in it. And I think if you sit in it for long enough and you trace it all the way, and how I like to trace it is I keep asking questions. So let's say it's, oh, I'm afraid I'm not going to have enough money. Well, what happens if I don't have enough money? Well, then I don't get to live the life I want. And I suffer. Okay, so if you don't get to live the life you want and you suffer, what happens? But if you keep going, what you're going to find is that the fear is you're going to die. It's surviving. And that is the ultimate program. This is Good Friday, so I am going to just say this. I was really sitting in the symbolism of Jesus and how he was on the cross and he died. And I kept going to the crown of thorns. And today, what I would like to do is take off the crown of thorns, which is a looping cycle of thought that is creating consciousness held in the illusion. Let's just make it that. Just symboling, like taking that off and moving out of, I need to reprogram my mind. I need to create a new story for myself. I need to have a new identity. And we're projecting through the mind because the mind isn't what is going to take us there. It's the ability to attune consciousness to a frequency. And that frequency is transcribed in our DNA. And it's all we have to do is ask for it to turn on. And then, just like tuning into a piano, tuning an instrument, we match the frequency. And then we learn how to do that. But the thing is, on an innate level, you already know. Really think about how many of you know on an innate level that the life that you're experiencing isn't what it's supposed to be. And some thoughts that would back that up is, I know I should be able to heal instantly. I know I should be able to manifest instantly. I know that pain and suffering isn't real. Um, well, we'll leave it at that. Those are a few of the big ones. And the truth is, that is true. And one of the questions that I ask myself all the time is, this may be the experience that I can understand consciously. This may be the experience that I'm able to name. It may be the story that I can deliver today, but it's only a small amount of what's really happening because our consciousness can only hold so much. But when we start to open up and we bring our consciousness into a frequency that's transcribed in our DNA, a lot more starts to open up because we get to move beyond the identity of form, of matter, of our story, of our programming, of our suffering, and we start to identify in a frequency. Well, in frequency, there is no judgment, there's no attachment, there's no right or wrong, there's no timelines, there's no need for outcome. And the biggest one is there's not that frequency of I am afraid to trust. Because when you identify in frequency, it is pure. So when we go into thoughts of I'm afraid to trust, then we know that we're in a programmed reality. It's really that easy. And then it's that hard because we are so programmed to exist in our program. So, what I want to do today is do some processes that show how we can do little step by steps. We can teach the cell to shift identity because identity is the one thing that keeps us looping. Like, who am I going to be if I'm not this? Who am I going to be if this isn't my reality? Who am I going to be if I've been sick for the last 30 years and then all of a sudden I'm well? Who am I going to be if I've been struggling in a relationship that I couldn't have anything that I possibly, this is actually somebody I know really, really dearly, was in a relationship where she was never allowed to do anything. She wasn't allowed to have friends. She wasn't allowed to be with her family. She wasn't allowed to do this or that. And she finally ended it. And now she's getting to choose for herself. And it took a really, like, I mean, a really long time to get to a place where that was comfortable. And then another friend, this is actually her daughter, was in the same exact environment, and she has all these things that she wants to do, and she has the freedom to do them now, but she can't get herself to do them because she's so programmed to not allow herself to do them. So those are like kind of some examples of what I'm talking about, is when we're so identified in a program, it can interrupt our process because we're so used to the behavior of what we identified in. But when we start to reprogram ourselves to shift identity, then we bypass the mind and we're doing it through the body. Well, your cells are the very environment that are holding the frequency of your body. And where is your consciousness? Of course, it's beyond the body, but we're going to say it for the sake of this is that your consciousness is in the body. It's experiencing the body. So when you can shift the identity of your cells, you teach your consciousness that it can do the same, and it can do it instantly. Then it's when we start to shift identity through the cell, then we start to move into the DNA and we turn on frequency. And just like the matrix, you see all these little lines and all these little codes, and you can feel into which ones are being coded by reaching into the environment and which ones are the expression of the frequency of source. And we're going to experience that today. But what I find really fun is just like that movie, The Matrix. There's this one part, and this keeps popping in, so I had to share it today, where he's sitting at the control panel and he's seeing all these numbers on a control panel. And he says, I don't see numbers. I see a blonde woman with a red dress. And he started like naming all of the things he sees through the code. And he's still, yes, identifying it. But the point of it is that when we start to see through code, it's really easy to tell, is the code the illusion? Is the woman really there? Or are you just seeing the code because the code is holding more of a frequency? And then we can start to teach our consciousness to be an expression of a frequency or to identify as frequency over form. Okay, so with that, I'm going to open it up to questions and then we'll do some processes. I think I said everything I wanted to say. If not, I'm sure it'll come through when we move into discussion. Okay, I'm opening it up to everybody. First, if there's any questions about what I just said, and then I definitely want to do some processes. Don't be shy. Or two. Really? There's no questions? Barbara, did you have a question? Were you raising your hand?
Char's hand is raised.
Yeah, well, I just want to say that, Jules, like I just always felt everything in my body sort of all at once. And then I sort of resisted coding, honestly. You know, I always did words instead. And I'm an English major and I sort of love words anyway. So I started coding like everything 3 weeks ago. And I've had miracle after miracle. I mean, I have had like 5 in the last week. I mean, thank you so much. You know, I I can't explain. I mean, I'm being catapulted now. And this wonderful lady, Gabriella, a Kiwi lady from New Zealand showed up. And she's like my sister. Like she's my sister that I wanted to have. So anyway, I've just had miracles by coding. I can't don't want to say anymore. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you from the top to the bottom of my heart.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I can remember when I first got when the first level of coding, by the way, for those of you that don't know, is called ohm codes. It's part of the DQ. It's like kind of like DQ level 2, if you will. And when I first got that process, it was given to me and I just started doing it on myself. And I have to admit, I was just like, wow, I don't know what this is. And I don't know why I'm being told to do it. And it took quite a while before I realized what was happening. Because that's the thing with this work is that when you start to code on a DNA level, the frequency of your body raises and your consciousness doesn't always know what's happening. And you would even start to create choices from those higher frequencies without really being aware of it. And then all of a sudden, your consciousness hits the frequency and you have an awareness, and it hits pretty hard because you're like, how could I not been aware of all of this that was happening? But it happens all the time. I hear it all the time from other people. It definitely happened for myself. But for when I first realized it in the biggest way was when I was making a huge life change. And I had absolutely no attachment or emotion to it. Nothing. It was kind of crazy. And I was, oh, should I be feeling something? Why am I not feeling something? And every time I would try to go in and feel something, there was nothing there. And what I realized is, oh, I'm having the experience in frequency. I'm not having it from my programmed body anymore. And it was kind of a fun experience to have it in that way. And it took a really big event to realize I was already living my life that way. I just wasn't aware that I was. All right, let's go with Shara. Thank you for sharing, Barbara.
That was such a nice explanation that you gave at the beginning of the call, Jules. Really, really helpful. I think that's the clearest I've ever heard you articulate your view of that relationship between consciousness and the cells. So that was really neat. I'm trying to think how to ask this really briefly and efficiently. So in our class earlier this week, someone brought up the topic of feeling like someone else's energies are coming toward you.
Mhm.
And I have sort of a different variation on that from what that person asked. So, what I think is happening is say that you've needed to make a decision that you feel very in alignment with, but someone you're close to is sad and confused about it. And then I think what happens is if you are feeling like you're picking up their distressed emotions, it's probably because there's still some of that in you, right? Because they're matching to whatever sadness or distress you
Mhm.
might feel, even if you feel clear that you did what was aligned. Is that how you would articulate that, or do you think there's something else?
I'm not going to say you're wrong, but what I will say is there's a level of mastery in there that's being invited. And that is that when you start to feel that frequency, immediately you read it as information. Because when you're just like, instead of it being the woman with blonde hair and a red dress, it's frequency that has codes of information. Why do we want to keep it in frequency? Because if we keep it in, it's like saying, um, okay, joy. I know what joy, like when you think of joy, think of all the things that are joyful. You think of, the flowers or a little kid playing in the ocean and splashing. It's like you think of joy. But if you see joy as 432, it's just information. It doesn't have that emotion or the chemical response to it. So is one better than the other? No, it's just one is having the observation through a programmed experience. Because what did we have to do to think about what joy is? We had to go into our filing cabinet and we had to pull it out. We had to compare it. We had to bring out some images. We had to maybe bring a past experience, maybe something we saw on TV. And then all of a sudden we understand joy. Well, the same thing is happening when you're feeling this information coming in, you're processing it just like I did with the frequency of joy, but you're doing it through, oh, they're maybe feeling this. And I can remember a time I felt that way and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, blah, blah, there it is. Right. Or it's just, oh, they're in the frequency of 128 and they're upset, they're scared, they're not sure what to do, they feel abandoned by me. But I don't have to take that on and actually feel it in my body and in my experience in order to know that. And does it help for me to feel that? Well, no. It's helpful for me to know that they're having that experience, right? And then you get to choose what you want to do in that experience. But it's not your responsibility to make everybody happy. It's your responsibility to read the frequencies that are around you, to read the frequencies of how your choices are affecting your environment so that you can continue to make the choice from your heart space and be in the expression of the choice of where it first started. It was from alignment. Like just like when I like that, I immediately felt your body move back into expression of your choice, which was the frequency of source, right? So you can feel the information, you get the information, and then you move back into expression. Makes sense? So that would be the next level of that is yes, you recognize it because you've had that experience before. Does that mean that you have to go and feel all of it again? No, the past was your way of receiving information, but now you can have the same information, but the mastery is to have it through frequency instead of the filing cabinet. Thank you. That was beautiful. All right, I'm not sure who is next.
It was Fleur.
Fleur, hi, honey.
Hi, I don't know. Can you hear me all right? Is my mic working?
Yes.
Okay. I think what you're saying is so powerful about how sometimes, like you were saying about your friend, and how even when the 3D or whatever changes, it's still you're not able to deal with that because she'd been in a different situation for so long. She couldn't almost believe it in a way or trust it or live in that. And that felt so powerful for me because that's what's been coming up for me with the shapeshifter, what the shapeshifter has been showing me, the alchemist and the shapeshifter has been showing me. And it was just, I could just feel it even when things have been, as I say, sort of like being better or right. It's like I couldn't really be in the identity of that. And it's like needing to just let that go and just rise up into being that. And when I was maybe into the shapeshifter, I had the impression of, you were talking in the video of how in the Native American tradition they have the idea of being an animal. What I was shown was being a phoenix, and that was just rising up and being reborn. So that felt great. But I think that feels really powerful. And I think there's still sometimes a little bit of static around it. You know, it's like it's going back and forth. But I feel it's just so wonderful to have that opportunity to just rise up and move into that and finally drop that old way of not really trusting, not really believing it.
What I'm hearing, this is just coming through as you're talking, is I feel like this is a question that I'd like everyone to just ask yourself is like, are you ready to end it? Are you ready to end it? Are you ready to end the looping cycles? Are you ready to end the suffering? Are you ready to end the disease and everything that we say? It's just like, are we done with the story? And really be honest, right? Like, are you ready? Because if you are, the only thing that is in your way is you. It really is true. And we make it so hard to change when it's not hard, you guys. Like, if there's anything I would love to end today, is that change and to move out of the frequency of suffering is hard. Like, who came up with that? What's hard is that we don't know how to shift out of the identity of what we're experiencing. But that is, if we have a new identity to move into, and we have the practice of attuning frequency, our consciousness to frequency, we have everything we need. What's hard is the practice. It's the practice. To shift identity is not hard. What's hard is to stay with the spiritual discipline it takes to continue to focus on what's possible and not what is. That's what's hard. And that's only hard because we don't know it. But just like going to the gym for the first time, it's hard. But the more you go, the easier it gets. And guess what? It's never super easy, but it's addictive. And you want to keep getting better, and you want to keep getting stronger, and you literally can't go another day without going to the gym, because you know that that is your mastery. And that's maybe not the best example, but I love going to the gym, so I'm going to use that example, because even on my days where I feel strong, there's times where, oh, why is it so easy today? And then the next day it'll be super hard. I'm like, oh, I thought it was going to be easy, right? There's just, depending on where we are and how we're experiencing it. But each time, whether it's easy or not easy, there's a level of mastery. Because look what happens. Oh, this is easy. I just named it. So instead of having the experience, I'm naming the experience. In that moment, I know I'm in the illusion. Awareness, and then choice. Okay, thank you for sharing, Fleur. All right, let's go with Jody and Linda, and then we'll open it up and do some processes.
I just kind of want to hear myself out loud just so you can reflect back, because I am not so far having any experience of this being hard. It's just not a word that I would use. And I mean, I'm kind of delighted all the time. You know, I'm not saying that I don't know what to make of that, but I'm checking in, right? So I'm just having this, like, I remember the last time I talked to him, like, oh my God, this 1 to the 2 to 3 to the 1, like it just changed my life instantaneously. So I just, again, just give me 2 more seconds to articulate. So like the programming's over here. Like I went to a place last night where like there was like 50 women and I knew 3. First of all, it's a blast because like the programming is like bright everywhere. Do you know what I mean? Like it's there, but like I feel like I'm in frequency over here. It's not like they're not competing. Like it's still going on over here. It's just that I'm just in this other place where like there's almost like, could I say this? I would almost say like there isn't like emotion in it. It's not like, it's not a feeling thing. It's like a heightened state of awareness. I might use, I want you to just hear the language, because I'm putting language to an experience that, you know, well, that's hysterical, but you know, but I'm just saying, like, I'm actually not, and maybe because this is my first go with this, everyone, you know, I feel like it's like, I have no trouble giving myself over to it. Like I get in front of those codes, as you call them, the signs, what you're calling codes, right? 1, 2, 3, like that card. Like, first of all, I don't remember people's names or any of that shit, but I like those symbols. Like I have no idea why. I go, oh yeah, I know what the 1 is. Like it's fascinating. So I just want to, like, I don't know what, like, I'm not having experience so hard. So I just want to, I don't think there's a bypass in there, but I just wanted to like kind of be naked with that. I don't know.
You know, out of everything you just said, this is the place where I want to go to, because I'm not sure if there's a bypass in there. And I don't feel that you do it, but I can tell you a really easy way of knowing if you are. Because I feel like spiritual bypassing is something that we all should be aware of. I think that's a pretty big topic, right? Is, oh, well, if I just go from here to here, aren't I spiritual bypassing? This is what it is to spiritual bypass. You go from here to here, and when you're here, you're saying things like, oh, well, everything is working in my favor. I know everything's going to work out. This is going to be okay. You're convincing yourself of holding consciousness in a frequency. That
There's no narrative.
there's no narrative when you're in the
There's
frequency.
none, zero.
Yeah.
But again, it doesn't mean that the reflection isn't happening over here. It's just so interesting to be in conversation with someone who's fully in programming and not being in programming. It's so, and it's quite beautiful actually. And the reflection, people are just like, they're magnetized towards it. And I know it is just not exactly me, but it's like, I didn't know that, like, just even my clients, it's so different when I'm sitting with them and they can feel something different, but I'm not going into anything. I'm still practicing. I still look the same, but it's all, so that's why I just feel, I appreciate just being able to, because I don't think I'm actually bypassing it. Actually, I don't. I think I've like dropped into a rabbit hole that's like pretty incredible.
Yes.
But anyway, I just wanted to thank you.
Well, even the fact that you're questioning it is it's a good chance that you're not. So I think you're good there. There was one other thing with that I was going to say. What was it? If you're okay, a good way of knowing is if you're convincing yourself or others, or you're manipulating in order for something to be so. If you're in the third level of consciousness and down, then yes, you're in your programming and you're spiritual bypassing, if that's even a thing that you're experiencing. But it's a really easy way of knowing. If you're in listen and do, and you're in the flow, and you're not listening to your mind in order to come up with a response, manipulate what's happening in order to feel better, blah, 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 then you're good.
And it's not that fear, it isn't that I don't, it's not like I don't go, it's like, it's not like I don't see it there, but I'm over here anyway. So it's not like a denial of a moment of discomfort or like I can feel myself like, oh, there's a little programming, but I'm still outside of it. So
Exactly.
It's not like yeah.
Exactly. So the difference is, let's say you're afraid and you're afraid in the third level of consciousness, you're going to try to get out of it. So you're going to try to convince yourself. You're going to say things like, oh, everything's going to be okay. The universe is always working for me. You're going into the filing cabinet and you're trying to convince yourself. Let's say you're afraid and you're in the fourth level of consciousness. Okay, I know I'm afraid. I'm going to pull on my tools. I'm going to reattune to the consciousness, or I'm going to reattune my consciousness into the frequency. And I'm going to do it anyways. I'm just going to listen and do. No matter how afraid I am, I'm going to keep doing it. And I know some of you have heard me say this, but I'll never, I mean, this was such one of those moments in life that I'll never forget. And I was in this cute little clothing store and was with a bunch of other people. We were on a little retreat. And I realized that I was more afraid to not listen to the guidance and act on it than I was to not. And it was a huge moment. So it didn't matter how big the guidance was, it was scarier for me to not do it because I knew what it was like to drop down into the third level of consciousness. And I knew where that would take me. Thank you for sharing, Jody. Beautiful. All right, Linda. So you're on mute if you're talking, Linda.
Hi, sorry. I had to catch my cat. She was gonna fall down the stairs.
Oh.
She's an older cat, older kitty. So, but she's good. My question, I just wanted to clarify a little bit. When you were talking about observing the frequencies instead of bringing them in the body. And I understand that, but if we have a place where there's a frequency that we want to experience, like say we want to feel the emotion of joy. So is it like we would just choose that basically, right? In other words, we keep that outside of our body, and observe the frequency. And then if there's something we wish to experience, we can just choose that. Is that correct? And then, because there's emotions like that I enjoy, that I don't want to lose. That's part of being human, and so, but I've always taken everything in, but learning how to observe it and then choose. Is
Yeah.
that
First I want to go to an emotion is the chemical response of your body that's releasing, and
right?
then you're identifying it, which is the programmed body. A frequency is a frequency. So, and the emotion of joy, let's just say it's dopamine or serotonin,
Right.
probably dopamine. And then, or unless it's just an underlying joy, but you're talking about having an experience. So that would be more of a dopamine release. And then there's the frequency of joy, which is measured, I believe, at 432. So that's two different experiences. One, you have to like have the chemical released in order to have the experience. The other, we can ask, I would like to experience the frequency of joy. And then you turn on that frequency, it turns on in your body. And that's where you start to be, if you will, kind of the control. So, okay, so I'm going to go into this. So your DNA is transcribed with a frequency, and we're going to do a little thing with this in the future, but I'm just going to show it to you. So your DNA is transcribed with the frequency of source. The frequency of source is 963. But in that, we all know that we can turn on a specific, you could say, code to where you can have an experience of the frequency of 963 and something that you understand. So let's say it's joy. So joy, if it's released from the DNA, is still going to be in the frequency of 963, but you're going to have the experience of joy of what it is in the frequency of source. That's one way. So then we have this other part where, well, how do we turn that on? And that's kind of what we start to teach, is that you can turn that on. And then once it's turned on, you take your consciousness and you attune to it, just like the piano. I'm going to match that frequency. But now I know I'm matching that frequency in something I asked for, joy. What is joy in the frequency of source? That's different than the emotion. So if you're still wanting to have the emotion of joy, what then my next question was, at least do it consciously, right? Because where that emotion is coming from is coming from the programmed part of your mind wanting to have an experience. And all I'm going to say is do that, have fun with it and enjoy it, but be really conscious about what the drive is to have that experience in a chemical over a frequency, because that there's a level of mastery and consciousness in there, and it doesn't mean one is right and one is wrong, but there's a level of mastery there of what is it that I'm choosing and where am I choosing it from. I know I'm not quite answering your question, Linda, but I feel like my response to you is going to challenge you to look at the way you're choosing and what those two are in your life so that you can move forward with an awareness that you didn't have before. I hope that that makes sense.
It makes sense. It does make sense. I think I understand frequency because I feel the frequency of different places. Like and I do understand the difference between the emotion of it, of I just chose joy because that's the word it's a good word, like and I don't know all the code of the frequency, the the specific, like a number, to put a number to it, like I understand that that's a way to do it, to get there through the codes of like source, but like source, to bring source to physicality, to bring it to a physical, like an experience, like to be here to experience and to experience but I understand it's like I'd like to get to it too, like you say, where I get to choose the
Right.
experience, yeah.
Right. And
And
maybe as you move forward from here, this might be a fun exercise for everybody, is that when we're observing a frequency shift, we have to remember that we're observing it. And as soon as we observe it, we know that we're in the observation. So let's say you go into a room and it has a kind of a yucky frequency. I mean, how many times we've all had that? Or you go into a room where there's two people in there and you just know that they just stopped a fight or something and you feel the vibe, right? Well, it's information. So just like what I was saying to Shara, it's like as soon as you have the information, ooh, they're in a bad mood. You don't have to sit there and open yourself up to it and let that go into your body where your body has the chemical response because your body knows this could be dangerous, right? Or if you're going into a room where it's joyful, it may be, oh, now I get to match this frequency. This is going to be fun. But what are we doing? We're naming our environment as good or bad. Ooh, I don't want to feel that. And ooh, I do want to feel that. We're in the ego response. And once we've realized that we're in the ego response, we stop, we
I
go
get, yeah.
inside.
Mhm.
Let me finish.
I'm sorry. I do that, and see, that's part of my challenge too, because I could feel like even if I bring a whole group down or up, I feel that in my own self and triggering people. I feel that, and the challenge is still being myself.
Okay. So I
Yeah.
was just about to give you the tool. So as soon as you have the information that I'm in observation and I'm observing it as good or bad, I know I'm my ego. I know I'm in the programmed reality. You step back, you go inside, and you ask that the frequency of source be turned on in your body. And when you do that, your body moves into expression, meaning you're no longer observing your environment. You're having the experience of source through the expression of your body. It gives your consciousness somewhere else to go to attune it to the frequency of source through your body. Then all of a sudden, you can consciously choose, what is this experience through the frequency of source? And it's a choice and it's a practice, and you're not going to do it right all the time, but it's interesting to see what happens. And in that moment, you can say, I'm going to have this experience through the frequency of source. What is that like? And then you start to hold your consciousness outside or beyond what you can have through the ego, meaning you're no longer judging it as good or bad because you don't know what the experience is going to be. You haven't had it yet. You can't name it. It gives your consciousness somewhere else to go. Okay, I'm going to end it there, Linda. I may invite
Thank
you
you.
to go back and listen to this again, so that you can kind of pick it up when you're just able to hear it without other people and that sort of thing. You think it may integrate a little bit deeper for you, but I think it was a great share, and thank you for bringing your share.
Thank you.
Of course, my pleasure. Okay, so we're gonna run, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's already almost to the hour. So I want to do a process. So let's do at least one process. Does somebody have a process that something that they're working on that they would like to go through? We're gonna go DQ, ohm codes to DMT. We're gonna do all three. All right, Sean, do you have a process? Something you're working on that you want to do?
I have yes.
Okay,
Let's put it that way. I'm
okay.
dealing with a lower back pain that just turned into sciatica,
Hmm,
and it's now moving into my entire nervous system.
okay.
So that's what I got.
Okay, so when it's going into your entire nervous system, what is that? Is it kind of like stress related, meaning that you're feeling like the cortisol, or is it more you just feel hypersensitive to everything? Explain that, like, just give me a little more information.
It's like all of a sudden in the middle of my arm, I'll feel like it gets really hot and stingy, and
Okay,
then it goes to the bottom of my foot, you know,
okay.
and And so it's like an autoimmune thing almost too, you know?
Okay.
And this just started happening when I started doing this course, you know?
Okay. Little
I
ascension
don't know.
symptoms.
Yeah.
Okay, we got this. All right, so let's have you, and if whatever anybody is, if you have something else that you want to work on, just with intention, as we go through this process, we'll just know that we are clearing everyone, and then we are going to do an activation, and then those that want to stay can stay. All right, let's do hands on heart, and just invite you to shut your eyes for a moment. If you'd like to breathe in that white blue light, allow it to trace along the brain, moving down through the spine and out through the mouth. Attuning that spinal fluid to the frequency of 963. And then as you're breathing in the white blue light, allowing it to move to the center of your mind and just seeing a teeny little white blue light. And just bringing all of your thoughts, bringing your consciousness into the light. And then pushing the light out till it encompasses your entire mind, your physical brain. And then just breathing in the light one more time, allowing it to trace along the brain and down through the spine into your heart space, allowing the light to enter your bloodstream, enter every cell of your body. As you attune to the frequency of 963. And then I'm just going to go into the master cell and we're going to read the belief system that's holding the cell in this frequency that's being experienced as pain. So what I'm reading is, it's almost as if I was just going to show you the image. So it was like a hose, and there's like a kink in it. So the energy can't run through. And the belief system is, if I undo it, then it's like I'm going to have more than I can handle. So the belief system is, can I handle it? It's, can I take all this on? It's that kind of energy. That's not quite at one moment. No, it's close enough. So we're going to go with it. It's not quite that, but it is. So what I was seeing too is the first card that I got just to hold the space of this call was the 33, that full mastery as the body. And that's what I'm feeling in this, is that if I undo the kink and I let all of that frequency come through, am I going to be able to handle it? Will I be able to exist almost? So let's have you shut your eyes. And we're going to bring in the symbol of the luminous as it shifts the belief system of, can I handle this, into, I am the body of source. My body holds the frequency of 963 in full expression in every cell of my body. I am the body of source. I am unstoppable. In the expression of source, there's nothing I cannot do. There's nothing I cannot handle. And we'll just attune the cell to that frequency. And then we'll bring in the symbol of the ska, allowing this cell and your consciousness to hold the frequency of, in the expression of source, there is nothing I cannot handle. In the expression of source, I am unstoppable. And then we turn the key of the 33, allowing the cell to move into the expression of I am unstoppable. I am the body of Source. I cannot fail. And then we're going to move right into the nucleus as we trace the double helix, identifying the code that is reading the environment through observation. And we're going to bring our attention to negative 11, 9, 5, 4, 1, 3. Allowing the code to move through the double helix into the source frequency. As it attunes to 963, opening up to possibilities. And then is recoded into the expression of positive 33, 1, 5, 4, 9, 7. Just feeling that code as it sequences, holding the expression of Source in every cell of your body as we connect and activate, holding consciousness in the frequency of the DMT code of 33. I am the body of Source. I am unstoppable. In this frequency, I cannot fail. In this frequency, I am supported. In this frequency, I live in the possibilities beyond my wildest dreams. Just feeling that as it lights up, upgrading your software system as your body holds an energetic pattern of the intelligence of Source of what it is to experience the body at 963 consciously. Just allowing your consciousness to have the experience, knowing that I am the Source body. I am unstoppable. I am perfect. And I cannot fail. This is the identity to give your consciousness to experience the frequency of Source as the body. And just taking in a deep breath. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. How do you feel, Sean?
I feel really good, thank you. And
Oh, you're welcome.
had a bit of a realization, possibly these things that are happening in my body, they're actually, I think they're actually turning on the 963. And it's like my body is adjusting to it. That makes more sense to me, I think, than oh no, I'm dying again. You know? So yeah, thank you for that. I really appreciate that. That was great.
That's beautiful. And what I love about what you just said is that is a level of mastery. So when we have ascension symptoms and we want to meet them through our programming, we have that experience. But then when we realize, oh, that there's another experience of this happening, and then we first master our experience of the body by holding consciousness above it and inviting the experience to show us what it really is. And then the body starts to show us what it really is. And then the mastery is to allow our consciousness to let our body actually show us the way beyond what we could experience through our programming. And that's what you just hit. And that is a very good thing. I'm excited for you, Sean.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Beautiful. Okay, I know this is going on forever. Is there any last minute questions? Let's see. Yeah, we'll go with Gabriella.
Thank you, Jules and John, because I think you just tapped into a process that I needed to. And if you can feel into that, and if it's done, it's done. I've been over these years working on breaking the illusion of separation. And yesterday, as I started working with the fifth symbol, been shown an antelope gazelle and then a translucent dragon. And overnight, I woke up in what was, or woke up, whatever. In my form was the blackness of nothingness. And if the nothingness, the only way that I could recognize it, it was when I opened the eye, because the eye was the only thing that I could see. The rest was nothingness. And my wondering was, is there anything I can add? Because I'm sort of excited. Um, I adding to hold my consciousness in my body. I really, because yeah, that's the big work to the big new next or journey into embodying that.
Mhm. What I'm hearing is it's the same, but you're just attuning to the darkness now, right? So if the darkness has an intelligence, it has a frequency. You're not going anywhere. You're
Yeah.
just holding your consciousness in your body as the darkness. And then it has something, it's like I always say it has something to say, but it doesn't always have something to say right away. A lot of
Yeah.
times we're just in the attuning process. And in the attuning, we're going to have other thoughts and little things come through, but then we move back into the spatialness of the attuning, and you're doing it through your body.
Yeah.
You feel it?
Yeah, I do very much. And thanks to Sean, the fear of failure was acknowledged and cleared, because I am so excited about being in where I'm at. And I know there is next and next and next, but it's just so, yeah. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. That was beautiful. All right, let's see. Is it Manon? Manon? How do you say it? Your name?
It's Manon.
Manon, beautiful.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for talking to me. I wanted to know, what is the purpose? I've been dealing with shoulder and arm pain for 10 years,
Mm.
and I get better, I get worse, I get better, I get worse, and I've done a lot of healing and clearings,
Mhm.
and I don't know what's the purpose of this. I mean,
I would let go that there has to be a purpose. The purpose
mm,
is for you to master it, right? It's the master that you can hold your consciousness in a frequency that's beyond your pain. And I can tell you for myself, I know that's possible. I have a spine injury where I should not even be able to move my left arm, but I can because I hold my consciousness in a frequency that's beyond that. Is it still there? Yeah. If I move my consciousness into the experience of it being there, I can, even me just saying that, I can start to feel it moving down
wow.
through my neck, and it's starting to burn the back of my arm. And if I kept going with it, my arm would stop working. But I don't do that. So the only reason I'm saying this is that if I can do it, you can do it. And it's a mastery. So what I would like you to do is create an avatar, if you will, of who you are without the pain. And
Mm.
start to, if I was this, what kind of choices would I be making? What kind of thoughts I would be having? What would my body feel like? And start to turn on that frequency in your body. It's not something that you're making outside yourself. It is you. You are that already. But where are you putting your consciousness? Am I identifying in the pain, or am I identifying in what's beyond that, in myself as completely healed? And that's easy to say. And there's a lot, I mean, that's why we have all the courses that we do, is that we teach you how to do that, because it's not easy to identify in something you don't know. But that's why using an avatar or creating an image of yourself and then starting to really think as that person and really feel your body as that person, it's
Mm.
the beginning of starting to activate those higher frequencies. Does that help?
Yes, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. And we have so much stuff on our YouTube channel. Go have at it. Go into the education part and just start watching some of the videos, and you're going to get more of what you had here, and it may hit you in a different way as well.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Okay. We're like way over time. So I'm going to go to, let's see, how do I do this? I'm going to pause the recording. All right, so we are going, this is the activation. So this activation is using the codes of, so what I was given is that there's specific days, and this coding is for today and for the eclipse day. And what I was told is that they're not days, they're codes. So this is going to be the code of the frequency pattern that's activating, that is ending suffering and opening us up to full embodiment of source as the body. Okay. All right. This is giving me chills and we haven't even started. All right. I feel like we're all attuned. We think we had the attuning process with Sean, so we'll go ahead and just start. All right. So if you'd like to look at the first code of the 3, just go ahead and shut your eyes and feeling that code as it enters the pineal gland, allowing it to spin, activating every cell of your body, releasing the frequency of 963. We're really going to focus on releasing that 963, that frequency of DMT, allowing consciousness to be held in the experience of source. And then we'll activate the second code of the 11, feeling that activate in every cell of your body. And then we'll activate the 8, feeling it spin, releasing the frequency of 963, upgrading your software system. Just noticing how each code feels a little different, how they actively start to shift the physical body into the frequency of 963. And then activating the 4, shifting the body to new form, shifting your body into the experience of multidimensional, allowing consciousness to experience the body as multidimensional. And then we activate the second 4, feeling your body as it shifts from the programming to the experience or the expression of source. Activating the frequency of the 8, that abundance and flow, the eternal pattern, eternal life. Feeling the second 8 as it activates every cell of your body. Feeling your body as an eternal pattern, that your physical form has the ability to exist beyond time and space. And then bringing them into the 11 of holding consciousness outside of programming. And then the last frequency is the 6, the ascended DNA. To experience source intelligence through the transcribed frequency of source, through the body, as the body, consciously. Just allowing all of the codes to upgrade your software system, allowing your body to exist in the frequency of 963. And this pattern is here for you to attune to consciously and have the experience of who you are, of what the body is. If in this moment suffering cannot exist, you are in a frequency where it is so beyond that reality. Allowing yourself to step into that frequency and choose it, to practice it, take responsibility for the ascension of your own body is a choice that you have to experience in every moment. And just taking a deep breath, allowing your consciousness to push even further into the frequency pattern, knowing that your body is holding and supporting you to have the experience of your brilliance, of your mastery. Everything you need to know is right there within you. And then as you take one more deep breath, go ahead and open your eyes when you're ready. And then for those of you that want to just go ahead and hop off, I'm going to stay on and show you the code. So I think I'm going to go ahead and just sign off on this recording. So thank you everyone for being a part of this. I'm sending you all so much love. And until we meet again, which I'm sure will be very soon, and we definitely invite you to be a part of the Eclipse event, which we will be sending out information about that. And I will also put that in the show notes. Big love, everyone.